Patricia Louise Holte, born May 24, 1944, known professionally as Patti LaBelle, is an American R&B singer and actress. She has been referred to as the Godmother of Soul. She began her career in the early 1960s as lead singer and frontwoman of the vocal group Patti LaBelle and the Bluebelles. After the group's name changed to LaBelle in the 1970s, they released the popular #1 hit Lady Marmalade. As a result, after the group split in 1976, LaBelle began a successful solo career, starting with her critically acclaimed debut album, which included the career-defining song, You Are My Friend. LaBelle became a mainstream solo star in 1984 following the success of the singles If Only You Knew, Love, Need and Want You, later sampled for 2002's Dilemma, New Attitude and Stir It Up. Less than 2 years later, in 1986, LaBelle scored a #1 album winner in You and its #1 duet single, On My Own, with Michael McDonald. Early life and career. Patti LaBelle and the Bluebelles. LaBelle was born Patricia Louise Holte in the Eastwick section of southwest Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She was born the second youngest child of Henry, 1919 to 1989, and Bertha Robinson, 1916 to 1978, Holt's 3 children, and the next youngest of 5 children overall. Her siblings were Thomas Hogan Jr., 1930 to 2013, Vivian Hogan, 1932 to 1975, Barbara, 1942 to 1982, and Jacqueline Jackie, 1945 to 1989. Her father was a railroad worker and club performer, and her mother was a domestic. Despite enjoying her childhood, LaBelle would later write in her memoirs, Don't Block the Blessings, that her parents' marriage was abusive. Shortly after her parents' divorce, when LaBelle was 12, she was sexually molested by a family friend. She joined a local church choir at the Beulah Baptist Church at 10 and performed her first solo 2 years later. While she was growing up, she listened to secular music styles such as R&B and jazz music as well. When she was 16, LaBelle won a talent competition at her high school, John Bartram High School. The success led to her first singing group, the Ordettes, in 1960 with schoolmates Jean Brown, Yvonne Hagen, and Johnny Dawson. With LaBelle as the front woman, the group became a local attraction until 2 of its members left to marry, while another was forced to quit the group by her religious father. In 1962, the Ordettes included 3 new members, Cindy Birdsong, Sarah Dash, and Nona Hendricks. The latter 2 girls had sung for another vocal group, which was defunct at the time. In the same year, they auditioned for local record label owner Harold Robinson. Robinson agreed to work with the group after hearing LaBelle sing the song I Sold My Heart to the Junkman. Initially, Robinson was dismissive of LaBelle, believing her to be too dark and too plain. Shortly after Robinson signed them, he had them recorded as the Bluebelles, and they were selected to promote the recording of I Sold My Heart to the Junkman, which had been recorded by the Starlets. It was recorded as a Bluebelles single due to label conflict. The Starlets' manager sued Harold Robinson after the Bluebelles were seen performing a lip-syncing version of the song on American Bandstand. After settling out of court, Robinson altered the group's name to Patti LaBelle and the Bluebelles. Robinson gave Holte the name LaBelle, which meant the beautiful in French. Initially, a Billboard ad cited the group as Patti Belle and the Bluebelles. In 1963, the group scored their first hit single with the ballad Down the Aisle, which became a crossover top 40 hit on the Billboard Pop and R&B charts after King Records issued it. Later in the year, they recorded their rendition of the You'll Never Walk Alone. The single was later re-released on Cameo Parkway Records, where the group scored a second hit on the pop charts with the song in 1964. Another charted single, Danny Boy, was released that same year. In 1965, after Cameo Parkway folded, the group moved to New York and signed with Atlantic Records, where they recorded 12 singles for the label, including the mildly charted singles All or Nothing and Take Me for a Little While. The group's Atlantic tenure included their rendition of Over the Rainbow and a version of the song Groovy Kind of Love. In 1967, Birdsong left the group to join the Supremes, and by 1970 the group had been dropped from Atlantic Records as well as by their longtime manager Bernard Montague. In 1970, Vicky Wickham, producer of the UK music show Ready, Steady, Go, agreed to manage the group after Dusty Springfield mentioned signing them. Wickham's first direction for the group was for them to change their name to simply LaBelle and advised the group to renew their act, going for a more homegrown look and sound that reflected funk, rock, and psychedelic soul. In 1971, the group opened for The Who in several stops on the group's U.S. tour. Personal life. LaBelle dropped out of Philadelphia's John Bartram High School just a semester before graduating in 1962. LaBelle returned to the school in her mid-30s and later earned her diploma. LaBelle wrote that she was sexually assaulted by Jackie Wilson while at the Brevoort Theatre in Brooklyn in the 1960s. Around 1964, LaBelle was engaged to Otis Williams, founding member of The Temptations. The engagement lasted a year before Patti broke it off after fearing Williams would force her to move to Detroit and retire from the road. On July 23, 1969, LaBelle married a longtime friend, Armstead Edwards, who was a schoolteacher. After LaBelle started her solo career, Edwards became her manager, a position he would remain in until 2000. That year, LaBelle and Edwards legally separated, with their divorce finalized in 2003. They have a son, Zurikai Edwards, born July 17, 1973, who is now her manager. After Zuri's birth, LaBelle suffered from postpartum depression for a year and said singer-songwriter Laura Nyro helped to take care of Zuri while LaBelle recovered. Through Zuri, whose name means good in Swahili, LaBelle is a grandmother of 2 girls and 1 boy. Members of LaBelle's family died at young ages. Her mother Bertha died in October 1978 from diabetes at the age of 62. Her father, Henry Holt Jr., died of complications from emphysema and Alzheimer's disease in October 1989 at the age of 70. All 3 of LaBelle's sisters died young. Eldest sister Vivian Hogan Rogers died of lung cancer in October 1975 at the age of 43. 7 years later, in October 1982, her elder sister Barbara Holt Purifoy died from complications of colon cancer at the age of 40. In July 1989, 3 months before her father's death, LaBelle lost her youngest sister, Jacqueline Jackie Holt Paget, to brain cancer at the age of 43. A day after the singer buried Paget, an emotionally wrecked LaBelle shot the music video to If You Asked Me to, where she was seen crying in various shots. The video was shot on what would have been Paget's 44th birthday. The singer dedicated her 1991 Burnin' album and her famous rendition of the song Wind Beneath My Wings during her concert tour in 1991-92 to Paget. LaBelle said that because of her sisters and parents dying before their time, she wrote in her autobiography that she feared she would not make it to 50. Once she reached that age, however, the singer said she felt her life had just begun. A year later, LaBelle was diagnosed as having diabetes and later became a spokesperson for several organizations dedicated in fighting the disease. She has a home in the Philadelphia suburb of Wynwood and also has condos in Los Angeles and in Eleuthera, the Bahamas. LaBelle is an honorary member of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. LaBelle. Main article, LaBelle. LaBelle, Center, with her LaBelle bandmates Nona Hendrix and Sarah Dash in a 1974 promotional photo. LaBelle signed with Warner Brothers Records and released their self-titled debut album in 1971. The record's psychedelic soul sound and its blending of rock, funk, soul, and gospel rhythms was a departure from the group's early girl group sound. In the same year, they sang background vocals on Laura Nyro's album, Gonna Take a Miracle. A year later, in 1972, the group released Moonshadow, which repeated the homegrown gritty sound of the previous album. In 1973, influenced by glam rockers David Bowie and Elton John, Wickham had the group dressed in silver spacesuits and luminescent makeup. After their third successive album, Pressure Cookin', failed to generate a hit, LaBelle signed with Epic Records in 1974, releasing their most successful album to date, with Nightbirds, which blended soul, funk, glam and rock music, thanks to the work of the album's producer, Alan Toussaint. The proto-disco single, Lady Marmalade, would become their biggest-selling single, going #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and selling over 1 million copies, as did Nightbirds, which later earned a RIA Gold Award for sales of 1 million units, which was later inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. In October 1974, LaBelle made pop history by becoming the first rock and roll vocal group to perform at the Metropolitan Opera House. Riding high on the success of Lady Marmalade and the Nightbirds album, LaBelle made the cover of Rolling Stone in 1975. LaBelle released 2 more albums, Phoenix and Chameleon, in 1975 and 1976, respectively. While both albums continued the group's critical success, none of the singles issued on those albums ever crossed over to the pop charts. By 1976, Patti, Nona and Sarah began arguing over the group's musical direction. Personal difficulties came to a head during a show on December 16, 1976, in Baltimore where Hendrix went backstage and injured herself during a nervous breakdown. After the incident, LaBelle advised that the group separate. Solo career. Early solo career, 1977 to 1984. Signing a solo contract with Epic Records in 1977, LaBelle recruited David Robinson, producer of Chameleon, to record her self-titled debut album, which was released that year. The album was noted for the disco hits, Joy to Have Your Love and Dance With Me, and the gospel ballad, You Are My Friend, the latter song becoming her first career-defining single despite its low entry on the R&B chart. 3 more albums were released in succession on Epic through 1980, Tasty, It's Alright With Me, and Released, with the songs Eyes in the Back of My Head, Little Girls, Music Is My Way of Life, Come What May, Release, The Tension, and I Don't Go Shopping, the latter song co-written by Peter Allen, being the most successful. After 4 albums on Epic, LaBelle signed with Philadelphia International Records where she recorded a notable version of Over the Rainbow on the album The Spirits in It. In 1982, she was featured on the Grover Washington duet The Best Is Yet to Come, and earned accolades that year for starring in the Broadway musical Your Arms Too Short to Box with God. The Best Is Yet to Come later earned LaBelle her first Grammy Award nomination. In 1983, LaBelle released her breakthrough album I'm in Love Again, which included her first top 10 R&B singles, with Love, Need and Want You and If Only You Knew, the latter song also becoming her first #1 single as a solo artist in early 1984. Later in 1984, she scored another hit with Bobby Womack on the song Love Has Finally Come at Last and made her film debut as Big Mary in the film A Soldier's Story, co-writing 2 original songs for the film's soundtrack. Crossover success, 1984 to 2009. LaBelle promoting AIDS awareness in the 1980s. In 1984, LaBelle recorded the songs New Attitude and Stir It Up for the soundtrack to the Eddie Murphy film, Beverly Hills Cop. Following the release of the film, New Attitude was released as a single in late 1984 and became LaBelle's first crossover solo hit, reaching number 17 on the Billboard Hot 100 and becoming a signature song. Stir It Up found similar success on pop radio and is a staple in dance clubs. In 1985, LaBelle performed on the TV special Motown Returns to Apollo and also as part of the All-Star benefit concert, Live Aid. Her notoriety from performing on the 2 specials made her a pop star and led to having her own television special later that same year. Also in the same year, a video of a performance from her tour of that year was issued on VHS. During this time, LaBelle ended her contractual obligations to Philadelphia International and signed with MCA Records. LaBelle shared a stage with Gladys Knight and Dionne Warwick for the 1986 HBO special Sisters in the Name of Love. During the same year, LaBelle released her best-selling solo album Winner in You, which reached #1 on the pop charts. The album included the international #1 hit, On My Own, and the hit ballad Oh People. The success of Winner in You would prove to be the peak of her solo success, though she continued her acclaim with the 1989 release of Be Yourself, which featured the Prince-written and produced Joe Mister, and the hit ballad If You Asked Me To, which had bigger success in a remake by singer Celine Dion. In August, the same year of that album's release, LaBelle performed as the Acid Queen for The Who's second All-Star concert celebrating the 20th anniversary of their rock opera Tommy at the Universal Amphitheater in Los Angeles. Later that same year, LaBelle began a successful stint in a recurring role on A Different World, the success of which spawned a brief sitcom of her own, titled Out All Night, which only lasted a season. In 1991, she recorded a hit duet version of the Babyface composition, Superwoman, with Gladys Knight and Dionne Warwick. That same year, LaBelle released the solo album, Burnin', which featured collaborations with Knight, Prince, Michael Bolton, Big Daddy Kane, and Luther Vandross, as well as a reunion with LaBelle bandmates Hendrix and Dash on the track Release Yourself. Burnin' went gold, with 3 successive top 5 singles on the R&B charts. This success led to LaBelle winning her first Grammy Award in the Best Female R&B Vocal Performance category in the 34th Annual Grammy Awards ceremony of 1992, sharing the win with singer Lisa Fischer, who won for her hit ballad, How Can I Ease the Pain, in a rare tie in the history of the Grammys. She was also nominated in the Best R&B Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocal category alongside Knight and Warwick for Superwoman. LaBelle's 1994 album, Gems, also went gold and featured the hit, The Right Kinda Lover. On January 29, 1995, LaBelle performed at the Super Bowl XXIX halftime show, held at the Joe Robbie Stadium, which later became Hard Rock Stadium, in Miami with Tony Bennett, Arturo Sandoval and Miami Sound Machine. LaBelle released the album, Flame, which included the dance hit, When You Talk About Love. LaBelle released her best-selling memoirs, Don't Block the Blessings, in 1996, and released the first of 5 best-selling cookbooks in 1997. In 1998, she released the live album, Live. One Night Only, giving her a second Grammy win in February 1999. She was honored with the Triumphant Spirit Award for Career Achievement at the 1998 Essence Awards, featuring tributes from Michael Bolton, Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, SWV, and Luther Vandross. In 2000, LaBelle released her final MCA album, When a Woman Loves, before signing with Def Soul Classics to release the 2004 album, Timeless Journey. During the promotional run of the album, she headlined VH1 Divas for the first time, alongside artists like Debbie Harry and Jessica Simpson and Good Friends Night and Cyndi Lauper. After the release of her 2005 covers album, Classic Moments, LaBelle was in a rivalry with Antonio L.A. Reid over the direction of her career, leading to her leaving the label. That same year she collaborated with singer Olivia Newton-John on Newton-John's album Stronger Than Before. In the same year, the World Music Awards recognized her years in the music business by awarding her the Legend Award. In 2006, she released her first gospel album, The Gospel According to Patti LaBelle, on the Bungalow label, the album later peaking at #1 on Billboard's gospel chart. LaBelle also released the book, Patti's Pearls, during this period. She returned to Def Jam in 2007 and released her second holiday album, Miss Patti's Christmas. In 2008, LaBelle briefly reunited with Nona Hendryx and Sarah Dash as LaBelle on the group's first new album in more than 30 years, Back to Now. Later career, 2010-present. LaBelle singing at an Obama presidential campaign event in 2008. On September 14, 2010, LaBelle made a return 2 decades after her last Broadway performance to star in the award-winning musical Fela. About Afrobeat legend Fela Anikulapo Kuti. She replaced Tony Award nominee Lilias White as Fela's mother, Funmilayo Ransom Kuti, and performed with the production through the end of its run on January 2, 2011. On May 23, 2011, LaBelle appeared on Oprah's Farewell Spectacular, Part 1, the first show in a series of 3 shows, which was the finale of The Oprah Winfrey Show. Singing Over the Rainbow with Josh Groban, she was honored with the Lifetime Achievement Award at the BET Awards on June 26, 2011. LaBelle and Aretha Franklin, among others, performed at the Women of Soul. In performance at the White House concert hosted by President Barack Obama at the White House, recorded on March 6, 2014. On June 10, 2014, LaBelle returned to Broadway as the cast and creative team of the Tony Award-nominated smash hit Broadway musical After Midnight welcomed her as special guest star. In 2014, she appeared in a guest role on the 4th season of the FX horror anthology television series American Horror Story, which was subtitled Freak Show. In 2015, LaBelle was one of the celebrities who competed on the 20th season of Dancing with the Stars. She partnered with professional dancer Artem Chigvintsev. The couple was eliminated on week 6 and finished in 8th place. She has consistently toured the United States, selling out shows in various markets. In 2012 and 2014, she appeared with Frankie Beverly and Maze on cross-country U.S. tours. In 2015, LaBelle made a guest appearance on Fox's television series Empire as herself. She appeared as a key advisor for Christina Aguilera on the 10th season of the NBC series The Voice. LaBelle sings in 2024. She returned to the VH1 Divas stage in 2016, headlining a holiday-themed concert alongside Chaka Khan, Vanessa Williams, and her goddaughter Mariah Carey. Her first jazz album, Belle Homage, was released in 2017. In 2018, she began appearing in recurring roles on the television series Daytime Divas, Greenleaf, and Star. On July 2, 2019, LaBelle was honored in Philadelphia with her very own street name Patti LaBelle Way between Locust and Spruce Street. On November 20 of the same year, LaBelle was revealed to have competed on the second season of The Masked Singer as Flower. LaBelle continued her acting career with roles alongside Cedric the Entertainer on The Neighborhood and Dule Hill on The Wonder Years. In September 2020, live from the Fillmore in Philadelphia, LaBelle participated in the American webcast series Versus, alongside longtime friend Gladys Knight, with a surprise appearance by Dionne Warwick. On December 10, 2022, LaBelle's Christmas concert in Milwaukee, Wisconsin was disrupted when a bomb threat resulted in evacuation of the venue. While celebrating her 80th birthday in 2024, LaBelle revealed she was releasing a new album, 8065, celebrating her 80 years of life and 65 years in music. A few weeks later, she announced a tour of the same name, kicking off on July 7 in Los Angeles. Charity work, foundations, and activism. LaBelle has supported numerous charities and foundations. She is strongly committed to peace by promoting access to education, healthcare, housing, employment, and equality of justice. She has served on several national boards as a devoted advocate for health causes, including diabetes, AIDS, Alzheimer's, and cancer. In 1987, LaBelle became a spokesperson for the National Minority AIDS Council and promoted the Live Long Sugar campaign to encourage people of color to seek treatment for AIDS. She used her influence to raise awareness around the AIDS crisis and the treatment of gay and lesbian community. She has been vocal about her support for the LGBT community and has performed at numerous Pride events. Civil suits. In 2010, LaBelle yelled at a woman and spilled water on her baby. That happened in the lobby of the Trump Place apartments in Manhattan. LaBelle agreed to a settlement of $100,000 to avoid a trial. The family donated the award to a charity. In June 2011, a West Point cadet filed a civil suit against LaBelle after he was allegedly assaulted by her bodyguards at George Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston, Texas. LaBelle and her entourage were on their way to a gig in Louisiana when Richard King, a 23-year-old cadet on spring break, was waiting to be picked up in the rideshare area. King alleged that LaBelle's entourage attacked him, causing a concussion. LaBelle's entourage said that he had provoked the attack. King lost his court case after 5 days of testimony. King was suspended from the U.S. Military Academy. He sued LaBelle and Holmes for assault, seeking $1 million in civil court. LaBelle filed a countersuit. Evram Holmes, LaBelle's bodyguard, was acquitted of misdemeanor assault on November 12, 2013, stemming from the incident. Pop culture. Patti LaBelle has been described as the greatest gay icon of all time and a prime example of the intersection of the LGBT community and black female artists. In a 2017 interview, she said, "When I think about it, the gay fans are some of the reason, one big reason, I'm still standing, 'cause they loved me when other people tried not to. Everybody always says, what makes gay men like you? I have no clue, I say. I still don't. But I know that love has lifted me up for many, many years." The New York Times called LaBelle one of 3 of America's most beloved divas alongside Dolly Parton and Barbra Streisand. LaBelle is the primary character on the popular web parody Got to Be Real. During the 2010s, her performance of This Christmas at the 1996 National Tree Lighting Ceremony broadcast live on C-SPAN began going viral annually during the holiday season due to LaBelle's reactions to technical difficulties and other performance challenges. The viral video is referenced in LaBelle's A Black Lady sketch show appearance, including the episode's title. LaBelle made some headlines in late 2015 when James Wright, No Channel, a vlogger, spoke enthusiastically on YouTube of her brand of sweet potato pies. The video quickly went viral and for a time, one pie sold every second at Walmart, selling out at stores across the country. She has appeared in 2 Walmart commercials, also an Old Spice commercial.